In 1958, an old woman stood on a street corner in New York City, staring up at a wall of electric light. She could not read a single word of it. She had never, in 74 years of life, learned to read or write, not in Russian, not in Yiddish, not in the English she'd spoken haltingly for half a century. And yet, she stood there and wept because her son had brought her to this exact spot to see one specific word blazing 3 stories tall over Broadway. The word was her own name. To understand why a grown man arranged for his illiterate mother to see her name in lights above Times Square, you have to go back to the poorest street in a small mill town, and to a boy who was, by his own words, the lowest of the low. Her name was Bryna. She was born in 1884 in what is now Belarus, in the western edge of the Russian Empire, into the kind of poverty that made emigration less a dream than a survival calculation. Around 1909, she crossed the Atlantic and settled in Amsterdam, New York, a mill town, with her husband, Herschel. They had almost nothing. Herschel worked as a ragman, driving a horse and cart through town, collecting rags, scraps of metal, and junk to resell. It was, in the rigid social ladder of a poor immigrant neighborhood, close to the bottom rung that existed. Bryna raised 7 children in that house, 6 daughters and 1 son. That son was born in 1916 and named Issur Danielovitch. Decades later, the world would know him as Kirk Douglas, one of the defining movie stars of the 20th century, the jaw and the intensity of Spartacus, champion, paths of glory. But in Amsterdam, New York, he was the ragman's son, and he never pretended otherwise. In his memoir, titled precisely The Ragman's Son, he wrote that even on the poorest street in town, where every family was struggling, the ragman was on the lowest rung of the ladder, and he was the ragman's son. The family's poverty was real and grinding. His father drank away what little the cart brought in. What held the household together was Bryna, a woman who could not read the street signs of the country she lived in, running a house of 8 on almost nothing. Here is the detail that reframes everything that came after. Bryna was illiterate her entire life. She never learned to read or write in any language. Think about what that means for a mother watching a son who wants to be an actor, a profession built entirely on scripts, on words on a page, on exactly the thing she could not do. She had no way to read a single line he would ever perform. No way to read a review, a contract, a headline with his name in it, and she encouraged him anyway. If a woman who couldn't read a word backing her son toward a career made entirely of words is already getting to you, hit that like button. It tells me these quiet stories deserve to be told. Tell me in the comments about someone who believed in you before you'd proven anything. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Because what her son did with his first real power in Hollywood is the part almost nobody knows. By 1949, Kirk Douglas had made it. He was a rising star with enough leverage to do something most actors of his era never could: start his own production company, giving him control over the films he made. Studios named their companies after themselves or after something grand and marketable. Kirk named his after his mother. He called it Bryna Productions. It was not a private gesture buried in paperwork. Every film that company produced carried her name in the opening credits, on movie screens across America, and eventually the world. The name of an illiterate immigrant woman from a mill town. presented to millions of people who would never know who she was. And Bryna Productions was no vanity operation, churning out forgettable films. It made Paths of Glory. It made Spartacus. And it was on Spartacus, in 1960, that Kirk used the company bearing his mother's name to do something that took real nerve. He gave a public, on-screen writing credit to Dalton Trumbo, a screenwriter who had been blacklisted for years and forced to work under false names during the anti-communist purges of Hollywood. That single credit, produced under the banner Bryna, is widely cited as one of the moments that helped break the blacklist. Though, to be fair to the record, Douglas was not the only one moving against it at the time. The point stands. The name of a woman who couldn't read sat at the top of a film that helped change what Hollywood was allowed to print. But the moment that matters most in this story came a little earlier in 1958 with a Bryna film called The Vikings. When it opened in New York, Kirk did something deliberate. He brought his mother, now 74, to Times Square and led her to the spot where she could see the marquee. Blazing across it in electric light were the words, "Bryna presents The Vikings." She couldn't read them. He read them to her. And the woman who had raised 7 children on a ragman scraps, who had crossed an ocean with nothing, who had never in her life seen her own name written down and understood it, stood in the middle of Times Square and cried. By her son's account, it was the proudest moment he ever gave her. Bryna died later that same year, in 1958, at 74. She lived just long enough to see it. Kirk Douglas went on to a career spanning 6 decades, an Oscar, and a life almost impossibly far from Eagle Street. He lived to 103, and through all of it, across dozens of films, the first thing that appeared on screen, before the stars, before the title, before the story, was a single word she gave him and never could have read. The ragman's son spent a career making sure the whole world saw his mother's name in lights. She got to see it once, and she never even knew how to spell it. If you want more stories like this one, real, forgotten, hidden in the details the official version leaves out, watch the video that's on your screen right now. Here on It Sounds Like Fiction. But it's history. There's always one more secret waiting.